Hello friends and creators. I am looking forward to sharing with you a review of 2025. I want to do this a little differently than I did last year. Last year I went through my memory keeper journal from the first quarter to the third. We didn't even make it to the fourth. It was, I don't know, a little repetitive and long. So this year what I want to do is just pick out certain techniques, and then I will show you examples of those techniques, and as we do that you'll get to see different pages in my memory keeper journal. So let's jump right in. So for those of you who don't know, I use a happy planner to do memory keeping. This is my second year using the big happy planner. In the past I used to do these little small books. It was like the Twitter version of what I do in here. But I really enjoy the big books, and you're going to see why as I go through and show you the techniques. But because I allow them to get nice and chunky, I wind up buying a one-year planner, but then breaking it down into quarters. So we have the first quarter here, nice and chunky. Second, third, that one's really chunky, and fourth quarter. So the first thing I would want to share with you is let's look at the covers and how I create the covers for all four quarters. So this is the original cover that came with it when I bought it. It has the nice 2025 in gold foil in the corner, but it turned out to be my second quarter. I used it for the second quarter cover. In the first quarter, I used Happy Planner paper, and I'll go through a quarter, and at the end of the quarter, I'll go ahead and I will write an editorial that reviews that quarter. So I'll take the Happy Planner paper and write my editorial, sandwich it together, run it through the laminator. Now what I used to do was, you know how on the laminator, let's see, how can you see? You get that real floppy, mopsy kind of an edge. But I would hole punch for the Happy Planner on this edge, and the covers would keep falling off because they didn't have any structure. So finally this year I decided to take scrapbook paper, and I would cut, say, an inch strip and fold it in half, cover it over that laminated piece. Here, let's take this out. And at this point I didn't even care anymore. I basically took staples and stapled it onto the cover. And since the laminated edge already had those funny hole punched in there for the disc system, I created the scrapbook paper piece and punched holes in it first and then lined it up, as opposed to putting it on here as a solid piece and then hole punching it, which would probably not line up with the original holes on the laminate, and it would just put too many holes and deteriorate the structure is probably the words I'm looking for. So that's why after I made this strip, folded it in half and stuck it in the hole punch, punched it, and then lined up my holes, stapled it, and now these are structurally complete. I can put these on here and they don't fall off anymore. It worked so well that I went back and did 2024. But I also want to shout out when you have friends who send you covers. Thank you, Cheryl. And you wind up with a couple of extra covers. That works out too. And then in this instance for my editorial, which I'm redacting, I basically taped it on with cellophane tape on the inside because otherwise I didn't know how else to attach it. And the cellophane tape worked really well. I didn't bother cellophaning this side, it's just up, bottom, and side here. On this fourth quarter cover, I basically just stuck with the October tab and did a little mixed media dimensional numbers on the cover. And for those of us who love to save packaging, I believe this acrylic piece was probably part of the packaging that came with the Happy Planner that I ordered. Saved it, cut it, rounded the edges, and just hole punched the side and put it as a protective covering over the October tab. I want to point this out too when we're talking about covers. When you use your own paper and you're laminating your own cover, it really gives you freedom to add to it. Like, I enjoyed this quote and it was so apropos for what I was going through. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. I know in the 2024 Memory Keeper Journal, as I was laminating pages like this, I even used the inside back cover to be like the highlight picture of the entire quarter and do a little journaling about it. Let's talk about the monthly pages, and you'll see a progression of how these changed over time. Hey, life is organic, we change. The way I decided to do these monthly pages changed as well. And you have to remember the bulk of this year, I was full caregiver. I was in full caregiver mode, basically. So time came at a premium, and you'll see that in the progression. Let me show you what I mean. So a year ago, I was making my own pages to begin with, which probably explains why the 2025 book, the cover is being used in the second quarter, because I believe I picked this up at a discount after the year had started. So at the beginning of 2025, I was printing out my own monthly, or rather weekly pages. So there wasn't a monthly spread. So there was no monthly spread to work on. However, I had blank pages that occurred because I had the January tab and the back of the first week. So I used that as an opportunity. This already had this dark image. And in the state I was in with caregiving, things were a little hazy. I liked this image of looking through a window. Bounce it up here a little bit. I like that image. Looking through the window, you can just barely see the trees. It was like, hello, 2025. The view from here is unknown. So by February, I decided to try an image a day in gratitude. And I was inspired by Linda over at Tortajala on YouTube. Go check her out. And I did pretty good for February. I think I even went into March, creating a doodle a day. But by April, life was getting in the way. So April isn't done. May isn't done. June, I had a receipt I wanted to remember, so I glued it in there, but June is also not done. I think we need to remind ourselves, give ourselves permission to maybe leave some things unfinished. It's okay. It's a space for memory keeping and looking back. It's not something to hijack us into feeling as though we have to complete something. This is for us. This is like my diary. So I understand those months are blank for a reason. You'll find that July, August, September, same. And since I used October's tab as the cover page. The inside has my editorial for the quarter, and then this beautiful image out of a magazine. So many of us love to save magazine images or even calendar images. This is a good spot to make use of that. This is the new practice I want to use moving forward. I talked about this in another video, mixed media with texture and using fabric and stickers and napkins. So instead of hijacking myself to try and fill each monthly square, I'm using it now as an opportunity to fill the page, do some art journaling, be very expressive on a full spread. I mean, you're given this blank canvas, why not have fun with it? And December is when I got to use that awesome fabric I showed you in my last Gratitude Sunday with all that texture. Then my gifts from Cheryl, decided to put them on there. Look at the fabric, the texture, adding ribbon, stickers, buttons. I love the buttons. I love this page. A greeting card from my sister. More buttons up in the corner. So each month now, this is how I look forward to using my monthly pages. Full on art journaling, expression, texture where I can. And then this way I get to use fabric because I love fabric so much too. Oh, and the question that I'm hearing that I take for granted is glue. So for the most part, you can see how beat up it is. I use this neutral pH adhesive. I'm surprised I don't go through jugs faster the way I use this. But then for things like the buttons or things that are stubborn, I use that E6000. I buy them in little tubes instead of the big one. I don't know, I just worry about it drying out, or I don't know. The little tubes, just so much neater. Use them. Keeps the other ones fresh until you're ready to use them. But that's what holds on the buttons and all those other stubborn things that don't want to stick. Like my flat back gems. So transitioning right from those monthly pages where I started doing art journaling and enjoying those full spreads, there are times when there's blank pages. For instance, let's start over here by December. Because these books are meant to be planners, you can see it best kind of here on this page that at the end of a month, they'll give you a page for the coming month to set out goals and make lists. And since I'm using this for memory keeping, there's really no place or nothing that I need to write there, but it just gives me another excuse to do some art journaling. And every year I have all this Christmas ephemera that I don't get to use. So this year I decided, why not just collage some of this Christmas ephemera that I enjoy seeing but never gets placed anywhere. I always find it, right? I always find it in my envelope or stack of ephemera unused every year, and it's so pretty. So this gives me an excuse to use it. So here's another example. I guess this would have been the April Make a List page. I got to use tissue paper here. This here was out of a magazine, and let's see, I probably ripped it out of the magazine first and then used packaging tape over the top. Isn't that funny? I couldn't tell you why I didn't just glue it down. Isn't that so funny? I don't remember why I did it. I know that I did it, and I know I like the outcome because I know I've seen, and I've done it myself, where, for instance, you put packaging tape over a photo, let it soak in water, and then you rub the back off, and it has a really neat effect saving the image. But that's not what I did here. I don't know. Isn't this fun? I get to look back at it, and why have a reason? I did it. It looks great. That's funny. Look, I did it down here too. That one almost looks like I did where I took the back off a little bit so that you could see through it, through to the tissue paper. This was something I had die cut out on my Cricut many years ago. Pulled it out of my stash. And that's why I love this too, because we create so much ephemera for ourselves. I've been waiting to use that butterfly, and this gave me a spot to use it. The other thing I found myself doing with these opportunities to use a blank canvas was at the end of the month, there would be things I hadn't used yet, and I wouldn't know where to put them, but I felt like they needed a place or maybe a greeting card. And so those blank pages became a place for me to kind of just shove things I didn't want to shove in a drawer. So instead of shove them onto the blank page. So there's a postcard here. There's a greeting card here. A tag. I love saving the stamps from when I get things. Look, see, this quarter has been a blur. Really? October? Clearing the scraps off my desk. Perhaps some normalcy is returning, reclaiming my space, reclaiming my autonomy. Yeah, see, this is a sticker off of a journal that I bought. I don't know why we save these things, but you know that we enjoy saving these things and putting them in our junk journals or our memory keeper journals. That's what this page became for me. Let's talk about dimension. I love adding dimension to my memory keeper journals. Makes them chunky, it's tactile. A short story for you. In the caregiving years, as I would take my husband to doctor's appointments, hospitals, you see so much sickness and heartache that I wanted to be the light. Like I was looking for, where is the joy in all of this? Where is the hope? So I decided I would be the joy and the hope when I show up at these places. And for instance, Mardi Gras came and I showed up with a bunch of those cheap Mardi Gras beads around my neck. And we went to go get labs done, and the phlebotomists knew us because it's the VA hospital. You go, it's always the same people. And so I showed up and started handing out Mardi Gras beads. And then I would carry around Snoopy stickers and hand out Snoopy stickers that were themed for each month. And the girls loved it, and it would always light up the room when they saw us coming. Well, to remember that, I had a pair that had snapped, a pair of Mardi Gras beads. And I decided I wanted to remember that I did this and how it lit people up. And I can probably dig around and find a picture. One of the phlebotomists actually wrapped the beads around her stand for her computer monitor. So it really had an impact, and I wanted to remember it. So I kind of figured out a way. I took an old cheap ring that I had that was discoloring, and I fed the beads through in a double layer and just stuck this ring through the loop so that they couldn't fall out, and just weaved it through the holes on those discs. And it looks like I just took some thread at the end and tied a knot, which adds more texture, right? I like having these threads here. And this is from another page, this ribbon. So I just love texture and dimension. This is another example of dimension. And see, there's a story behind it. That's what I love about adding this dimension. It's not just there for decoration. It reminds me of the story of the event that happened. So these are little vials of homeopathics if you have the flu. And oh God, thank God that, it sounds horrible to say, but Jerry wound up back in the hospital and he was admitted. And the timing worked out fine because I came down with the flu. And so I was able to be home and rest. But I just love these little vials that this homeopathic comes in. So I took the time to drill a little hole. I can't even say drill, I probably just poked a hole in the top. Wait, let's see, this way, there we go. Took some fishing line, I think it is, like it's a black plastic, and I put beads on it. My plow guy is here, just so distracted. Put little holes in there, put the beads on it, and created this memory. If I haven't shown you pictures of the snow since I was distracted by the plow guy, I'll have to go out and get footage and show you. Oh, he's having trouble pushing it. Shall I be distracted and show you video? Here, let's grab this. I don't know if you can see that where he just plowed in that mound. We probably have about a foot out there already, somewhere between 10 inches to a foot. Push, 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 push. Yeah, if you look at our planter right there, you see how much snow we've got? And probably just look up at the roof here. That's a lot of snow for the plow to push. Talk about texture and dimension, right? That's a lot of snow. Which is a perfect day for me to keep going. All right, where are we? This one's a fun one. My sister had sent me a gift. She had picked up something from a craft show, and it had all these different elements to it, and I deconstructed it because I thought it would look better here. I love the way this came out. I recut the fabric, made it look like a little medieval banner. Love texture. I love petting it. That sounds very strange, but I do. Right, even here I went to a thrifting day and picked up pieces of denim, and in order to remember it, I made the denim look holy and stuck it on here so you can kind of see through to the pictures. It kind of made a peekaboo moment, so it adds curiosity, like, wait, what's underneath here? It makes you want to lift it, you touch it. I love texture and dimension. So during my vacation down at Point Pleasant Beach, the gift shop had these what do you call that? It's not a keychain. Is that a keychain? Like a room key souvenir. How did I put that one on? I used a brass fastener. So the brass fastener is sandwiching like the legs of the brass fastener. So if this is the ring of the room key, the brass fastener is, that's another naughty. But that's how I did that. I poked it through and then covered the back end of the legs with some washi tape and packaging tape so that the room key stays there. Dimension. I had bought a piece of jewelry that came in this acrylic box. I took it down the shore with me. I filled it with little tiny shells And there's even, I love it because you can shake it. There's even a feather in there. Tags are always fun to save tags from shopping. And then I don't know if you can see it, but I added dimension, little beads, a little bit of glitter, and I used that to help hold the tag down. So I globbed a bunch of glue over the string for the tag and then laid a bunch of little bit of flat back gems and some glitter. So it added some dimension. Here's another one with fabric. And I love that the strings, you know, you leave it stringy. This would be one of those instances where maybe that E6000 glue would come in handy to help keep the photos to stick on the fabric. The grass from sushi, when you get sushi. So I basically started using fabric like scrapbook paper because I love this. I love this. Absolutely love it. You can see how I carried over in doing the page. This page I carried over some of it over here too, just to help bring the pages together. I love adding dimension. Did I mention that already? Once or twice maybe, how much I love dimension. Like you can even see the flat back gem from that collage. I love that when the book is closed and you can see that. What would memory keeping be if we couldn't share our thoughts and do some journaling? So not only do I do those editorial pages on the inside front cover for each quarter, but because it's the Happy Planner and the disc system, there's opportunities for adding in pages and journaling. And I love the idea of not using a full page, like a 3/4 page. I am someone who enjoys taking my thoughts, typing them in to the computer and doing a double space so that I can cut them out and put them in individually. That only lasted so much. It created an introduction, but then the rest of the story here. Remember this fun page? Where I took the impressions of the firewood and then stamped them and created this firewood stacked page. Sometimes life gets so crazy we don't have a lot of pictures to add into the memory keeping. So maybe you can do a theme the way I did and then fill it in with a bunch of journaling. So not only can you add pages for journaling, but it adds the opportunity for expansion if you have an event or a place that you went to. I love creating booklets within the booklet. A booklet within the book. So for instance, this day trip that I took on a respite day, I made a little booklet. It adds pages, adds a little bit of dimension, pockets for receipts. It also helps when you forget to put things in or you find something later, you can always go back and add a page. So for instance, I was sent pictures afterwards of gifts that I sent to the grandchildren. And I had journaled about it, so I added this page here to journal about it, a little 4x6 card. But then they sent me the pictures, so I took that acrylic again, clear acrylic, and created a way to put squares of their pictures down. Didn't have enough to cover the back of this other photo, so just took some scrapbook paper and covered the back of it. But that E6000 again, glued the photos to the acrylic, but this way it goes with this card I had created. And it's just, I love that flexibility. And what about here from packaging? I bought myself gel pen and mechanical pencil, and the box had this wonderful frame. So I used it as an opportunity. I cut the box apart, stuck it in here, and then was able to create a little pocket for myself. Took a little journaling page, journaled on it, and it tucks in there. So also this year, what I started doing was taking sketches that I had created and putting them right in the book. As much as I want to fill sketchbooks with a bunch of sketches or illustrations, I never fill a book that fast. I have a sketchbook from 2018 with illustrations in it. From 2018, I don't think it's even halfway full. And I revisit it maybe once a year. So instead of trying to fill this whole book, I decided as I was creating these illustrations or sketches, I put them right in the memory keeper journal. So you can go back and see the video where I described that feeling of being trapped in a snow globe. And then this was the image of the tree while I was sitting at the park. I didn't even try and hole punch this differently. When I tore it out of the sketchbook, I just used the holes that were already there and shoved it in. And besides adding little extra pages in there, of course, my other favorite thing to do is adding little flips. You glue one edge down and leave it so that you can add more to it. I did that over here with this visit to an antique shop, and I even gave it an extra page in there. Let's see if I can move this over better so you can see that better. Right? This industrial building, now turned antique boutique, was made for trains to go through it to either make deliveries or to get repairs. And so I had some ephemera with trains on it, and even this extra page with some steampunk and a train image. So it created this little booklet on the edge. I folded the paper, creased the paper. This one got tucked underneath here, but the original one got creased, and then I put things on top of it, which I've been using these little envelopes to collect receipts and other ephemera. They come in handy too. Put them towards the edge of the paper rather than towards the binding. This was another example of adding pages where you use the envelopes from a gift shop. I showed this in one of my recent videos where this bag was so big, I tucked it in on itself and folded it, and then also folded it here to fit within the constraints of the book, punched the hole on the side. It gave me places to put pictures and to journal, and of course to keep the booklets from my day out. We're revisiting the page with the room key just because scrapbook paper is made 12 by 12, right? Punch the one side and fold the other side in and create a space for yourself to add more ephemera and more journaling. We're back to that fun dimensional page. This one here just showing the extra book that I made. to put in more journaling. I did the same thing for the sketches that I made while I was down the shore. I created this to look like the cover of a sketchbook. So it was brown craft paper, and I cut it to size and distressed it. I even beat it up a little bit. I purposely bent it and stuff. I didn't want it to look new. And then I cut out the sketches that I did and glued them so that it would create a little book of sketches that I made while I was down the shore. So this is a combination of that whole booklet idea and having extra space to journal. While my husband was in rehab, we celebrated our anniversary, and so I journaled about it and created a little book. I stagger the pages so you can see that there is more than one page. And again, this is only on about a half of a sheet. Let's talk about greeting cards. There are so many of us that enjoy the whole paper crafting and scrapbooking that also make cards. I'm the oddball out. I don't, because I have this desire to want to keep what people send me when it comes to greeting cards. So I have stacks on these binder rings. I have stacks of these that I keep because I want to remember the cards. I don't save all of them. You save the special ones, but I think I'm a minimalist at heart. And these carry not only the joy of reviewing them and seeing them, but also the weight of owning stuff that's just kind of sitting. Right? I just went through this whole thing of getting rid of DVDs that were just sitting. That's why I don't send out greeting cards. So if you're watching and you send me a greeting card and you don't want to get one back, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I almost feel like I'm passing on something that you're going to want to keep. Of course you're going to want to keep it. I guess it's okay to throw it out too. But especially if you make handmade, you put the time into it, you've painted it, you've crafted it. I don't want to throw that out because I know the work that goes into it. Anyway, to solve this keeping stacks like this, I found a solution for myself. Can you imagine? I must keep it in my memory keeper journal. Even if it's not mailed to me, right? When the grandkids came and brought me gifts, I have the card. I keep the envelope, punch it, put it in there, and the card is in there. I don't mind showing my grandson's artwork again, the watercolors that he did. And then my granddaughter sat at the table and colored in the snowflakes. This is another example of using one of those blank pages. I used it to put cards in. I have a friend that loves sending out cards, and I love receiving them. So instead of keeping them in a stack on a ring, now I incorporate them into my memory keeper journal. This one hidden back here, I've cut this out from another card where I saved the artwork. But under here hidden is an envelope from a friend who sent me a letter. You know, so the letter is still in there. Do you see this? Look, do you see? Those are the strings from that Halloween page. I love that they're encroaching over onto this page. Love it. Another way to add the envelope is to add paper. Find a pretty scrapbook paper to sandwich along the edge of the envelope and then hole punch it. And then I have opportunities to add artwork because part of the gift that she sent me had these papers in it. And then her card is inside. Here we go, another card. This time I just took the flap and then put a sticker over it. And she actually sent me a cute little butterfly. And so I kept it in its little plastic bag. Actually, I think I had a plastic bag. I was trying to figure out how to get this butterfly to stay with the envelope, and I didn't want to glue it on with the E6000. So, oh, and on the back of it, it says believe in miracles. Yeah. So I wanted to remember it, but I didn't want to glue it on there. So I had this little plastic bag. I stapled it onto the envelope, right? Because that's the open end, so I was able to get the stapler in there. And then this way you see it, you can remember it. This was the little card that came with it. So just another example of saving a card. Here's another flip out. Remembering from ordering from Oblique Love Letters and the tag that they made using wax seal. Using a wax seal to keep it from coming out. Here's an example of taking a bag from a boutique because they had that foil peacock on there, so pretty. So cutting up the bag but gluing it in onto a piece of scrapbook paper, which I wound up collaging all on the other side. But this is just glued into this scrapbook paper. I probably shortened the handle and re-glued it back on, but it became a place to hold tags and again maps. And sometimes instead of keeping the card in the envelope, I glue the back of it on the front of the envelope so I can still enjoy the sticker, the stamp rather, and then you can open the card. And then it still will leave you room to journal if you want to journal. This is adding another page. And I want to share this one because I discovered this Honey Grow restaurant and was there with my sister and a friend. But the tactile nature of their bag, like the entire experience at this restaurant, was very memorable. And the bag, come on, the black and the tan, I love this. So you can see where the bag would have folded inside, right? If the bag was intact, these two would be together and folded in just like this. So I cut it and it created a little booklet. I could save their fun napkins because they have fun napkins you could play on, their little menu, journaling. And I love that sound. How fun is that, right? So many journaling techniques, so many memories. It's just so much to share. And I hope by the time I edit all this, I'm able to put it in a way that makes it more fun to watch and doesn't create another 5-hour video. Well, I've enjoyed spending this snow day with you. Thank you for watching and listening to me drone on about my techniques and sharing little snippets of my life with you. Laugh at life, guys. Laugh a lot and keep those memories in a memory keeper journal of your choosing in the way that you love. Life is worth remembering. If it's worth living, it's worth remembering and sharing the stories, even if it's just for yourself. All right, guys. Love you. Love you lots. Bye.